When toy lines end here on Spector Creative. So here on the Spec Creative channel, I'm Scott Toy Guru Neitlich. I think I'm repeating things because this is a video I've discussed before, but it's worth revisiting. And that is the end of toys. I don't mean like, the end of all toys forever. That's never going to happen. I mean, kids are always going to need playthings. What I mean is when a specific toy line ends. And, this has been happening ever since the 60s, right? They don't make Mego Planet of the Apes figures anymore. They don't make, Kenner Rambo figures anymore, although maybe they do. You never know what shows up in, from Super 7 these days. The point being is toy lines have been ending our whole lives. When 1985 came along and the last Return of the Jedi Power of the Force figures shipped, whether you count Yak Face or you count it as the Imperial Dignitary, the one right before Yak Face, whoever was in that 91 slot right before him, whatever it was over. And when Power of the Force 2 started up under Hasbro, most people considered that a completely new line. It was not, it was not an extension of, I don't think anybody still even looks at that as there was a 10-year gap there. So you could say that the vintage Star Wars line has 92 figures. We're just going to go with the 92. I know the controversy, but just go with 92 for the sake of argument. So yeah, you can say I have all 92. Or Superpowers, another really great example, especially because they kind of popularized the collect them all that was on the package. And you can say, I have all the vintage Superpowers figures. Of course, again, Superpowers has also been relaunched, both as a 6-inch line at Mattel and a 5-inch line with McFarlane, going well beyond the original figures, expanding that universe. But again, I don't think anyone considers the Mattel or McFarlane Superpowers lines a continuation of the original. They look at more, these are tribute lines, if you will, or homages, versus, saying, again, like I have the 1980, 4 to 85 Superpowers line, like all 29 figures. I don't remember if that's the number off the top of my head. I know, shame on me, but you know what I'm saying. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. That's another one. I'm still hunting for the Will Scarlet figure from that. I have all the other ones carded, and that's going to be fun because I can collect them all, and I know I have the full set. There's only like 8 of them, granted, but that's a good example of a line that's not been continued or had an homage line. Why hasn't that? Why has no one done Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, like both, like Marvel Legends style and retro actions? Somebody do that. Somebody with, $50,000 in royalties that can put that up front, make that happen. Whoever owns the rights. Is it Warner? I think it's Warner. Someone go talk to Warner. Okay. But yeah, so that's a good example because, yeah, the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves line was a very finite line. So, uh, and finally, another good example, one that got stretched almost too far, was Justice League Unlimited, which I worked on at Mattel. I came into that line when I was the brand manager as an active collector, which was crazy. I remember hunting for Hawk Girl at Target. She was so hard to find. And now here years later at Mattel, I was running it, and it ran like well past its life, to the point that the runs were just so small, to the point that even Warner was like, put your resources into other things. And it did come to a final end, and we did like a tribute pack that was like the last pack, and it finished all the card carrying members of the Justice League. And I liked that not only because it literally finished the team, but it put a very clear stop to the line so that you knew you were collecting them all or not, or or you didn't have them all. So with that, that's leads me to exactly what I'm talking about going out correctly. So with Justice League, we knew we were coming to an end. We knew we had literally just a handful of characters left to do all of the heroes, like literally every hero that was on screen. Doing all the villains would have been like another 50 figures, so that was never going to happen. It was amazing we got as deep as we did. I mean, Amanda Waller, seriously, we did Amanda Waller at retail. Okay, enough of that. So as we're looking at other toy lines potentially coming to it, like the McFarlane DC line, is a good example. It's ending by no, fault of who, the license is moving. The powers that be are moving it. So that line won't just continue at Mattel. May make 7-inch DC figures. They may go back to 6-inch. They may go to 5-inch. I'm going to bet they're going to go to something like a 5-inch. So it's going to be very kid friendly, but that's just me. And the same thing with Hasbro looking at wanting to get out of the toy manufacturing business. Things like Marvel Legends that we've been living with for 20 plus years could be coming to an end. And if that is so, much like we finished the card carrying Justice League, and I'm not trying to put myself or that team on a pedestal, I'm just using it as an example. That's it. It's just an example. But deliberately making sure you finish a line. And, people have heard me harping about certain characters like, finishing the X-Force team with Farrell, and Rachel Summers for Excalibur. I really want Spot for my Spider-Man Marvel Legends shelf, and Boomerang, classic Boomerang. So, I know there's a lot of other people with a lot of other teams, and that you can see Hasbro starting to build even new iterations of teams, like a new X-Force even, and they haven't even finished the old X-Force. And so that's just kind of the only thing is, like, I think it's great when lines end because it's nice to be able to say I have them all. It's exhausting to collect forever. I think outside of Hot Wheels, there's really no line that has just gone on. I mean, Transformers is a powerhouse, obviously. It's been nonstop for 40 years. I think it stopped in the US for 2-3 years, but it also was huge in Japan at that time. So there's, we're definitely getting to an age of, certain lines being evergreen and always in the toy aisle, but it's not necessarily the same, specific line. Like, you'll still get Spider-Man toys. It just might not be Marvel Legends 6-inch, if you will. Spider-Man will always be there. And that's why I like ends, because there's a collect them all and there's a nice feeling of having everything. And I just really hope that as Hasbro and Mattel and McFarlane and Spin, and they all make these transitions, as licenses are probably going to bounce around a lot in the next year. You see one major license move, it kind of means they're all moving. So my hope is that there's a real conscious effort to finish up long-term teams, because that's what we like to say we're owed that, and I know we feel that way, but it would just be really nice to, because the chance of a new licensor going that deep to finish off another company's obscure team, they're going to want to max out on the A-list characters when they get the license. That's what everyone does, so it should be expected. So there you go. That's kind of my thoughts, is that when a line ends, it's not a bad thing, as long as it's done, I think, with some love. I mean, obviously, if retail pulls the plug on things, lines end all the time like that. I mean, heck, going back to my Robin Hood example, it was supposed to have a second wave, but retail didn't support it. But, when you do know the end is coming because a license is switching hands, or like we had the opportunity with Justice League, giving a line a proper set off is just such grace. Shall we put it there? Classy, even. All right. I think I've gone on too long. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Let me know, do you agree? Do you think, it's hard to say we deserve it. I mean, I know we feel we deserve it, but can toy companies still at least do their best to really finish off lines with a bang? And if a line is going to end, make it an end to remember. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing, and I'll see you in the next video.